In just 7 days, we're supposed to be driving to the south of France. And of course, yesterday, my Mercedes decided to throw us a wobbly. With that in mind, let's see if we can get the van ready to travel in just 7 days. What's the worst that could happen?
It's now the end of April and the van is not ready. So clearly 7 days. What was I thinking?
Let's jump back to September the 4th, where I genuinely was thinking, here we go, we've got 7 days, I can make this happen. So the first thing to do obviously was to get rid of everything that was left inside the van, but to start, I had to get under the van to be able to access the rock and roll bed, screws and bolts that were holding everything in. Now, challenge, because obviously it's never simple. One of the bolts, you need to remove the spare wheel before you can get to the actual bolt. So here I am, doing as much as I can and trying to get to access to that bolt. I don't know who designed this screw, but genuinely I could not believe how long it took me to actually undo this one. It just felt like it was never going to come off. I could make an ASMR video about this. Listen to those noises, that's insane. So now I'm focused on getting the rock and roll bed out. The rock and roll bed is held together basically by 4 main bolts. They go all the way through the wood, all the way down through the chassis of the car and come out the other side. So I'm having to get underneath to hold the nut and then on top to basically unscrew it. So there's a lot of reaching going on right now. Once it's loose, I think, yeah, actually this would be a great time to remove the cushions. So I bring in my trusty helper, aka my wife. And this is definitely a 2-man lift. Well, a 2-person lift. To be honest with you, in our relationship, she's the one that hits the gym and lifts more weights than I do. So we managed to slowly pull this out to get it out of the car. But actually it was a challenge, and the most annoying thing about this is they all move and every piece kind of starts coming apart. So we managed to finally get it out, get it on the floor, and at that point I realized, God damn it, there's another whole set of panels that I haven't taken off yet. Bollocks! Once we get the rock and roll bed out of the way, it's time to get back to business. Again, remember, this is day 1 of a 7-day challenge. I've got this, right? The rock and roll bed is out. So we've got the big motor at the back, these last panels, and then the floor to come out to allow us to clean everything and then start with the insulation. Now, I've never stripped out a car. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos and they all make it look easy. And guess what? So does this clip. But in reality, it's a lot of back and forth. It's faffing, it's finding the right tool, it's going back because you didn't get the right tool, it's getting another tool because you didn't realize you needed that tool. All of that to end up with this. The piece finally comes out and I can finally get to the floor. So now I'm starting to remove all the trim. I've got to try and get all of these little plastic bits out. Half of the screws have actually ended up becoming like rusted and broken as I try to pull them out. It's really, really frustrating. After that, we get the beautiful multicolored step, as you can see here. Now that we can access the floor, I managed to pull out the laminate really quickly and very, very easily. And what I found underneath just made me sad. The wood is rotting, there's obviously been water that's got to this, and I've been sleeping in this, which just isn't nice. So I start trying to remove all the screws that are holding the floor down. Again, screws are snapping, it's frustrating. Off camera, I managed to get that first piece of wood out that you can see on the left, but now I've had to bring in the big guns. The multi-tool is out because of all the problems I'm having with the old rotten screws that have clearly rusted themselves to death.
Another half a rotten screw.
And then this is the moment that it starts to dawn on me. It's not just the rotten screws that were holding this down. The floor's also been bonded randomly in different places. This is when I realize I'm going to need something longer and stronger to get this job done. And before you think it,
that's what she said.
I've gone to get the bar from the jack, and I'm using that to get under and really try and pry this rotten plywood off from the bonds that are holding it to the floor. Oh, sorry, you thought it was going to be easy? Of course not. I had missed a couple of screws, but mainly because they were so worn and rotten that I didn't see them. So I'm back with the multi-tool, and I'm desperately trying to cut into them and under them so that I can get this piece of plywood out of the van. Remember, you're seeing a couple of minutes here on the video. I've been now at this for hours. I'm now fed up with this, and I'm going with brute force has to be the solution. The plywood is rotten, as you can see, and I'm just pulling it as hard as I can, and I think we're finally home free. You can see how knackered I am from this, but look at how rotten that plywood is. As a quick note, I would say this is definitely a two-man job. Plywood can actually get very heavy, and especially when it's in this sort of size. So, just a little heads up.
And just like that, with a little gentle encouragement, a lot of rotten 18mm ply has now come off the bottom. It's a real shame because actually now I've realised just how filthy and horrible underneath this van actually is. Used to sleep in there. Look at it.
After everything was out, I decided a quick tidy up was in order. So out comes the trusty broom, and I'm just trying to get rid of all the shards and leftover pieces of plywood. And that's when I realise we have a mystery hole. It's not a mystery hole, it's actually one of the air vents from when the van was a caravel, so it could pull air in to keep people cool and passengers in the 2 rows of seats. But it's still a hole covered in gaffer tape. More brooming, more cleaning, and my god, rotten plywood has left a mess everywhere. And as I'm rewatching this, I've realised clearly at some point I started to remove the rear air blower, part of the heating system for the caravel, and just never filmed it. Who knows? After cleaning the back of the van as best I could, I then spent probably about an hour going round on each of the screws that was broken and that was sticking up and basically a death trap, and just tried to file those off clean.
That proved to be a much bigger job than I wanted it to be. We've got pieces of rotten plywood on the floor. There were rusty screws that I had to kind of cut out the heads to be able to get the piece of wood out. As I tried to pull it out, the whole thing ripped to pieces and the ends are all ruined. So I think we're gonna have to basically rescribe for the new floor ourselves anyway. And then a load of other things like came up as I did this. So I realized that there has been water and rotten wood. So that's kind of ruined the edges of the carpet. I'll try and show that now. I found a hole, which I think is part of, again, that rear ventilation system and the heating system, which I've now removed the heater at the back, but there's another hole in the middle. It was just covered in gaffer tape when I found it. But anyway, and there's one on the side, so I'm thinking of expanding foaming it. I don't know, I'm gonna do a bit more Googling before I do anything. I've looked again at the work that the guy did on the body shop down here on the sill. It's really not impressive, but I think I'm getting the hang of now understanding that, to be honest, probably most of this stuff I could do myself, but I'm going to have to learn and get the confidence up to actually keep doing that. But we will. So basically day one, my last piece of this puzzle is to try and give this floor, the sides and the roof as much of a clean as possible so that we are ready to tomorrow morning start sticking on the new sound deadening, the liner, then put the insulation in, and then hopefully we'll be able to at least put a floor down, put some panels on the sides and the roof, and that'll have to do to start with. Let's see. It's happened again. The van is in an absolute state.
If you've watched the channel, you know that we made it to France, but we went in my wife's small BMW 1 Series because none of the vehicles were ready.
We ripped out. It's been months. It's the 2nd of Feb. I've really fucked up on this one, but I'm going to get back on track.
After faffing around for about 15 minutes with my power washer, I realised that clearly it was broken. Don't know how that's happened. It hasn't been used for a while. Or maybe that's the issue. At this point, I'm hoping that you've seen that we've taken on the unit. You know that we've had some issues with Morty the Mercedes that hasn't quite managed to survive. It needed a new turbo. It's got more issues currently. But not using these things as an excuse, but just reminding people as to why maybe we're a little behind schedule. I think cleaning the van on that day was basically my way of cleaning my own conscience. I had failed the 7-day challenge clearly by about 5 months. But that wasn't the only part. It was the fact that I was now using the van on a daily basis. It was filthy. It had green mold basically everywhere, and I had to do something.
Okay, I kind of need to disinfect the Osmo after this. Have a look at this. That is how filthy it is. Look at this brush. It is minging in there.
So I gave the van a complete clean, as good as I could. Again, probably cleaning my conscience as much as I'm cleaning the van, but it was nice to get things back on track.
I won't lie, this feels really good. Actually just giving everything a good clean.
With a clean van, I start to think to myself, I'm getting back on track. I can do this. I've got this. So I start making the plans and I start thinking about the ideas of what comes next.
Done. One cleanish van. You can see now with a bit of heat, the windscreen is just covered in moisture. So this week we're going to block up the holes. We're going to get the rock and roller bed frame, 2 sandblasted powder coaters. I think we found one. And then we're going to block off all the holes, seal that, throw in the dehumidifier after they're sealed, and see if we can get this dried up and hopefully not getting so much crap inside it ever again.
So could I finish the van in 7 days? Could I? Fuck. Clearly that hasn't worked out. It's the end of April and I got no excuses other than life. Life throws you wonderful journeys and side quests and whatever else. And it's just been really, really busy for us as a family with my wife. We've had our own challenges in business. I've been setting up Fork This, which again is another whole series of videos. This is part of the unit where I'm recording this now, but it has been absolutely mental. But now I'm pretty happy to say that we're getting back on top of things. And not just this one video, which actually was going to be 2. Anyway, 1 video, but I've also got the next video already recorded. And we've got the one after that ready to go. So we're going to be really, really much cooking with gas now. I think there's about 6 weeks till Van Love Festival, give or take. I may have messed that up actually, it might be about 8 weeks. But the key piece is we can't wait for Van Love Festival. I'm going to be there. We will be in the van. By hook or by crook, if I have to tow it there, that's what will happen. So if you've enjoyed this and you want to see how this crazy adventure ends up, please don't hesitate, hit the subscribe button, maybe even drop a like, let me know you enjoyed the video, and hit the notification bell. It will make sure that you hear every time I go live and do something stupid with the van or try and do something right, who knows. In the meantime, thank you so much, we'll see you in the next one.